single dad notices a poor little girl being mocked. What he does next changes everything. When 42-year-old Nathan Cooper saw a group of businessmen intentionally knock over a young child's fruit cart and walk away laughing, he never realized that stepping in to help would bring comfort to two broken hearts and forever change both their lives. Before we go further, let us know in the comments where in the world you're watching from. We love to see how far these stories travel. Please, mister, I need these. The pleading words cut through the afternoon rush on Maple Street as 8-year-old Zoe Martinez dropped to her knees, quickly grabbing bruised apples and crushed tomatoes from the filthy sidewalk. Tears ran down her dirt-marked cheeks as she watched her precious fruit rolled toward the gutter. My mama needs the money for her medicine. 3 men in costly business suits stood over her, laughing as if her struggle was the funniest thing they had seen that day. The heavy-set man, who had deliberately struck her small cart, adjusted his tie and sneered. "Not our problem, kid," he said coldly, already walking away with his friends. "Maybe tell your parents to get real jobs instead of sending kids to beg on the streets." "Yeah, this sidewalk isn't for little vendors," another man added with a harsh laugh. "Go find another place to play store." At that moment, Nathan Cooper's old pickup truck screeched to a stop, making everyone turn. The construction worker's rough hands tightened on the steering wheel as he watched a sight that sparked a fire in his chest. The protective instinct, he thought, had died with everything else he had lost. "Hey," Nathan's voice carried, the strength of a man who had spent years leading crews and never tolerated bullies of any kind. The businessmen paused mid-step and turned, their smug looks dimming slightly. Nathan climbed out of his truck, his work boots landing hard on the pavement, his piercing eyes sweeping over the scattered fruit, the crying girl, and the men who thought their expensive clothes placed them above others. "What exactly is happening here?" The little girl lifted her wide, frightened eyes to Nathan. Her loose clothing hung awkwardly on her thin body, her dark hair tied back with a stretched rubber band. She hugged a damaged orange close to her chest as though it was treasure. "These men knocked over my stand," she whispered, her small voice barely carrying over the street noise. Nathan's jaw tightened as he looked around. This was no accident. He saw the clear marks in the dirt where the cart had been shoved aside. "It was an accident," one businessman muttered with a shrug, his voice careless and arrogant. "Kid was blocking the sidewalk with her fruit cart. Public property, you know." Nathan crouched beside the girl, his big hands gentle as he helped her gather the remaining produce. Up close, he noticed something that broke his heart, the kind of deep weariness no child of 8 should ever carry. The empty look in her eyes showed hunger, fear, and responsibilities far too heavy for someone her age. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Nathan asked softly, his tone far different from the commanding one he had used with the men. "Zoe," she answered, her little hands trembling as she tried to hold an apple split down the middle. "Zoe Martinez." Nathan stood tall, his 6-foot frame casting a heavy shadow over the businessman. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but carried a sharp edge. The type of silence that experienced workers recognized meant real trouble was on the way. "Well, Zoe, it seems these men owe you both an apology and repayment for the fruit they ruined." The heavy-set businessman let out a laugh, hollow and cruel. "You've got to be joking. We don't owe some street kid anything. This is America, pal. Free enterprise. You know, actually, you do. Nathan slowly pulled out his phone, making sure all three could see what he was doing. I watched everything from my truck. You purposely knocked over her cart and refused to take responsibility. That's damage to property. The man's face turned red with anger. You can't prove a thing. I've got a dash cam, Nathan answered calmly, even though he was bluffing. And since she's a minor working to help her family, there could be more charges: harassing a child, causing emotional distress, maybe even theft, if you refuse to fix this. Nathan stepped in closer, lowering his voice. But here's what will really happen. The three of you will apologize to Zoe. Then you'll pay her for every piece of ruined fruit, plus extra for the trouble you caused. And if I ever see any of you treat a child this way again. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The mention of legal action, combined with Nathan's unshakable resolve, erased their smirks completely. After minutes of muttering, swearing under their breath, and glaring at Nathan, the men finally pulled out their wallets. Here, the heavy-set man tossed the $20 bills at Zoe's feet. Happy now. Nathan didn't reach for the cash. He simply folded his arms and waited. I think you forgot something, he said firmly. The man shot him a glare. What? Now, the apology. You're crazy if you think I'll apologize to some. I'm sorry. The words came from the youngest of the group, a man barely 25, who looked increasingly uneasy about the whole scene. I'm sorry we knocked over your cart, Zoe. That wasn't right. The other two glared daggers at him, but Nathan gave a nod of approval. Thank you. That took courage. As the men stormed off, still grumbling about soft-hearted do-gooders and self-righteous workers, Nathan knelt beside Zoe, who stared at the $40 on the ground as if it couldn't be real. Here you go, sweetheart. Nathan gently placed the bills into her hands. This should more than cover the loss. Zoe's eyes filled with fresh tears, but now they carried gratitude, relief, and amazement that someone, a stranger, had defended her when nobody else did. Everyone deserves respect, Nathan said softly, helping her set her cart back up, especially someone like you, working so hard for your family. As Zoe carefully placed the fruit that could still be saved, Nathan found himself watching her more intently. There was something in her determination, the way she fiercely protected every single piece of fruit, that reminded him of someone. The memory was painful, yet for the first time, it didn't feel overwhelming. Zoe, can I ask you something? Nathan's voice was gentle, careful. Why are you out here selling fruit instead of being at home or in school? The little girl's face grew serious, as though she had aged years in that moment. My mama can't work. She's very sick, and her legs don't move properly. It's just the two of us now, so I have to take care of both of us. Nathan felt a lump form in his throat. The parallels were almost unbearable. A child forced to grow up too quickly because of circumstances far beyond her control, just like his Sophie had near the end. Where's your dad? The question slipped out before he could stop it. He died when I was little, Zoe answered, plainly, in the way children speak when they've already accepted difficult truths. Mama says he loved me very much, but he was hurt at work when I was 2. After that, his family said mean things to Mama and told us we had to leave their house. Nathan's hands clenched without thinking. This 8-year-old had already faced more loss than many adults could bear. Yet here she was, working endlessly to care for her disabled mother. Then Mama had a bad fall down some stairs while we were moving to a new place. That's when her legs stopped working, right? The doctor said her back got really bad. The story hit Nathan like a punch. Every detail painted a picture of a family hit by one disaster after another. She woke early to help her mother with basic needs, prepared simple meals, kept their tiny apartment as tidy as possible, and then went out to sell fruit and vegetables to earn money for rent and medications. I've been running the fruit cart for about 6 months now, she explained as they walked down Cedar Street. A kind man at the grocery store lets me buy fruit that's starting to spoil for really cheap, and then I sell it for a little more. Sometimes I make enough for Mama's medicine and our food. Don't you go to school? Nathan asked, though he already guessed the answer. Zoe's face fell a little. Mama really wanted me to go. She was very smart and finished high school and everything, but we couldn't afford the supplies and clothes, and someone has to stay with Mama during the day. She tries not to show it, but I know she hurts a lot. Nathan felt anger well up again, but this time it wasn't aimed at the businessmen from earlier. It was anger at a system that allowed families to slip through the cracks so completely. Anger at the injustice that could steal childhood from someone so young. The apartment building on Cedar Street was exactly what Nathan had expected, and somehow worse. Paint peeled off in long strips. Several windows were covered with plywood, and the air smelled strongly of mold and neglect. Broken glass littered the entrance, and graffiti marked most of the first floor. Zoe led him up 3 flights of creaking stairs that groaned ominously, even under her light weight. The hallway was dimly lit by a single working bulb, and several doors bore marks from forced entry or damage. "This is us," Zoe said, stopping at a door labeled 3B. The door looked sturdy, with multiple locks, suggesting the residents had learned to be careful. "Mama, I'm home," Zoe called, fumbling with a key that seemed huge in her small hands. "Zoe, baby, you're later than usual." "I was starting to worry," came the reply. The door opened to a small studio apartment, sparse but exceptionally clean. Every surface had been scrubbed, and despite the clear poverty, a sense of dignity and order filled the space. In the corner, on what appeared to be a mattress on the floor, lay a woman no older than 35. Illness and hardship had aged her, her dark hair streaked with early gray, her thin body wrapped in a worn but clean blanket. Maria asked, her voice carrying protective concern despite her weakness. "Mama, this is Mr. Cooper," Zoe said, excitement in her voice, as she ran to her mother. "Some really mean men knocked over my cart and broke a bunch of our fruit, but Mr. Cooper made them apologize and pay for everything. Look." She held up the $40 proudly. Nathan watched Maria Martinez's expression shift from surprise to gratitude and something that seemed almost like shame. "Your daughter is truly remarkable. One of the bravest, most hard-working children I've ever met. I just wanted to make sure she got home safely." Maria struggled to push herself upright against the wall, and Nathan could see how much effort it required. When she spoke, her voice carried the same quiet dignity that filled their small apartment. "I'm Maria Martinez, and I can't thank." "Please don't apologize," Nathan said sincerely, meaning every word. "You should feel proud of what you and Zoe have accomplished together. Maria's eyes searched Nathan's face, trying to understand why a stranger would be so kind. Mr. Cooper, may I ask you something? Of course. Why did you help her today? Most people just ignore kids like Zoe. Some even cross the street to avoid us. The question surprised Nathan. How could he explain the mix of feelings that had pushed him to act? The way Zoe's tears had stirred something in him he thought was gone forever. I guess I believe everyone deserves dignity, especially children, working so hard for their families. The real truth about Sophie, Clara, and the grief that had nearly made him vanish from the world was too heavy to share with strangers, no matter how much they had touched his heart. As Nathan got ready to leave, promising to check on them again, soon Maria grabbed his arm with unexpected strength for someone so frail. Mr. Cooper, she whispered, her voice barely audible. May I ask you to be completely honest about something? Nathan nodded, sensing the weight in her tone. She seemed tired, but incredibly determined. Frightened when those men bothered her, but braver than many adults I know. She's clearly carrying a lot of responsibility. Why do you ask? Maria's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hide. The raw pain in Maria's voice tightened Nathan's throat. She's still very much a little girl, he assured her. She lights up when she talks about caring for you. She's proud of what she can do, but she's not bitter or angry. She still has hope. Thank you, Maria whispered. That's what I needed to hear. Nathan left the apartment that evening with Zoe's laughter echoing in his mind. She had giggled when he joked about apples being scared of oranges. But Maria's haunted expression stayed with him throughout the drive home. His own apartment felt emptier than usual when he walked inside. The silence that had once been comforting now felt suffocating. Yet, for the first time in months, the grief didn't come with the usual hopelessness. Instead, Nathan found his thoughts lingering on Zoe's determined little face, her careful protection of every piece of fruit, her clear love for her mother despite everything. Over the following days, Nathan found reasons to drive past Cedar Street, he told himself, just to make sure they were all right. On Thursday, he stopped at the grocery store and bought several bags of produce, reminding himself he'd been meaning to eat healthier anyway. When he arrived at apartment 3B with the groceries, explaining there were extras from a work lunch that might go bad, Zoe's face lit up like it was Christmas morning. Mr. Cooper, Mama, look, Mr. Cooper brought food. Maria's expression was complicated gratitude mixed with the pride of someone unused to accepting help, no matter how badly it was needed. I hate to see good food wasted, Nathan replied easily. Besides, Zoe's been teaching me about the fruit business. I figured she could give me some professional advice. And Nathan could see the relief in her eyes as Zoe examined the produce with excitement. These apples are really good quality, Mr. Cooper, Zoe said seriously. You could probably sell these for a lot of money. Good thing I have an expert consultant. Then, Nathan said with a grin, earning Zoe's infectious giggle. As weeks passed, Nathan's visits became a routine. He stopped by every few days, always with groceries or small necessities he claimed were extras he couldn't use. He helped Zoe with basic math, while Maria rested, taught her to make better change for customers, and even helped her create colorful signs to attract more buyers to her fruit cart. He discovered Maria had been a skilled seamstress before her accident, capable of making beautiful clothes and alterations. Carlos's family blamed me after he died, Maria told Nathan one evening while Zoe was in the tiny bathroom getting ready for bed. They said I was cursed, that I brought bad luck to their son. They kicked us out 2 weeks after the funeral. That's horrible, Nathan said, meaning it. I was grieving and had nowhere to go. I found a small apartment across town. But it was on the 3rd floor. That's when you were hurt. Shattered 3 vertebrae and compressed my spinal cord. The doctor said I was lucky to have any feeling in my legs at all. Maria's voice was calm, but Nathan could hear the years of pain behind it. But lucky doesn't pay medical bills or buy food. Nathan also learned that Zoe had inherited her mother's artistic talent. The walls of their small apartment were covered with Zoe's drawings, flowers, animals, imaginary places, all full of color and hope. She often drew to cheer Maria during her worst days, creating elaborate stories about the characters in her artwork. She says, "When I get better, we're going to the ocean." Nathan's chest tightened. Maria spoke about getting better as if it were certain. Maria was getting weaker, not stronger. Each visit, she looked thinner, more fragile, and often struggled to stay awake for more than a few hours. The breaking point came on a cold evening in late November. Nathan arrived to find Maria in more pain than usual, her face pale and drawn. Zoe did her best to comfort her mother, bringing water and adjusting pillows. But Nathan could see the fear in the little girl's eyes. "Mama's having a really bad day," Zoe whispered to Nathan when Maria dozed off. "She couldn't eat anything today, and she keeps saying her back hurts worse than usual." Nathan stayed late that night, helping Zoe make a simple dinner and encouraging Maria to eat at least a few spoonfuls of soup. After Zoe had fallen asleep on her small cot beside her mother's bed, Maria called Nathan closer. "Mr. Cooper," she whispered, voice barely audible. "I need to tell you something, and you must promise to hear everything before you say anything. When they diagnosed my spinal condition 3 years ago, said it would get worse over time. The tumors on my spine, they can't be cured without surgery that costs more than people like us will ever have." Nathan felt the world tilt. "Maria, please let me try." Her grip on his hand was firm. "The doctor said I had maybe 2 to 3 years. That was 3 years ago. I've been living on borrowed time. Lately, I can feel it. The pain is worse every day, and I'm weaker. Clinical trials, I can help with the costs." "I can," Nathan, using his first name, stopped him. "I've researched everything. I've called every hospital, every program, every charity that might help. Surgery would only give a small chance of walking again, with no guarantee of stopping the cancer." The word cancer hit Nathan like a punch. Cancer. The tumors are malignant. They've been slowly growing for years, and now are affecting other organs. "I have maybe 6 months left, if I'm lucky." Nathan stared, mind spinning. This couldn't be happening. Zoe hugged him back with all her strength. "I think so too, and I think they're proud of us for finding each other." As they walked to Nathan's truck, now equipped with a booster seat and always stocked with juice boxes and coloring books, Nathan realized that Zoe was right. Sometimes the most broken people are the ones meant to heal each other. The fruit cart had been retired months earlier, replaced by school supplies and art materials. But Nathan had kept one apple from Zoe's last day, selling dried and preserved, on their mantel as a reminder of the moment when two broken hearts found each other. Nathan had thought he was saving a little girl from a cruel world. The truth was more complex and beautiful than that. Zoe had saved him just as much. She had brought laughter into his home, purpose into his days, and hope into his future. Together, they had learned that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who show up when you need them most and choose to stay no matter how hard the journey gets. Sometimes it's about strangers becoming protectors, children becoming teachers, and broken hearts making each other whole again. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it's about seeing a small act of kindness on a busy street and realizing that helping someone else might just save yourself. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you decided to step in when you saw someone being treated unfairly? Nathan's split-second choice to help a child changed lives forever, proving that ordinary moments can spark extraordinary transformations. As Nathan tucked Zoe into bed that night in her own room, in their own home, surrounded by her artwork, stuffed animals, and the comfort of knowing she was loved, she asked one more question. "Mr. Nathan, do you think we would have found each other even if those mean men hadn't knocked over my cart?" Nathan thought carefully, because Zoe's questions always deserved thoughtful answers. "I think," he said slowly, "that some people are meant to find each other no matter what. Maybe it would have happened differently, but I think we were meant to find each other anyway." Friends, if this story touched your heart like it did mine, if it reminded you of the power we all have to change someone's life with a simple act of kindness, don't just watch and walk away. Hit that subscribe button and join our Tale Trusts.